With the new installation of God Eater, there is a lot to say about this game that surprised me, and I gotta say, this game improved a lot from its predecessors. God Eater Resurrection, God Eater 2, and now God Eater 3. I really think Bandai Namco and Marvelous Entertainment did a good job on God Eater 3, adding more fluidity to gameplay mechanics, a darker story, and tons of content. But before we begin, I like to state that this review is strongly based on my opinion and there will be spoilers. So, with that being said, let's begin.
Go ahead and begin the operation.
Phew. Want to get started?
The gameplay is pretty much the same as its predecessors, but with a little more features here and there. With God Eater 2 adding blood arts, that's no longer the case in God Eater 3 with burst arts. Burst arts work similar to blood arts, but the only difference is that burst arts can only be activated when you enter burst mode. And you can enter it in two ways. By devouring origamis or link burst. If you don't know what that is, it's a special bullet acquired by devouring origamis that you and your fellow friends or NPCs can shoot, forcing you or anyone to enter burst mode. Now this is where things get interesting. While entering this new mode, you can use a brand new feature called Burst Arts Effect, which are secondary abilities that are triggered at the same time as burst arts. Now with these abilities, you'll be able to create slicing tornadoes, explosions, and slashing projectiles. Each burst arts has one slot for a secondary ability. Now you can mix around with it depending on your fighting style and use it in battle. Now speaking of battle, the game's combat is a bit faster and more fluid. You can also say the same thing about origamis. They're more dangerous this time around, that preparations are key to defeating them. Going into battle unprepared in my case is futile. This game will literally punish you if you don't prepare, and choosing the right weapon is key as well, making the fight a bit easier. But there are other ways to gain the advantage in battle with acceleration triggers, which are basically skills that you can equip depending on your style. Like how its name says, each skill has a different requirement for triggering in battle. For example, hitting an enemy with a ground combo finisher 5 times will grant you a melee boost. On the other hand, we have Engage, which is more defensive than offensive and are triggered by cooperating with your friends or NPCs in battle. Some boost your defense, others boost healing. There are literally hundreds of them on both sides. As you can see, God Eater 3 introduced a lot of new mechanics that helps you turn the tides against origamis. But ultimately it comes down to your own personal skills and loadouts. But the one gripe that I have about the gameplay, and Bandai Namco in general, is that this series needs to evolve. I hate to do this, but it needs to do exactly what Capcom did in Monster Hunter World. Let me elaborate. Capcom took the skills that you had in Generation and blended them into a more fluid combo system. I really think that God Eater can learn from Monster Hunter as well as Monster Hunter can learn from God Eater. Imagine doing a sick combo and ending it with an explosion or a slicing up tornado. Now I'm just gonna let that sink in.
We really made it.
The story here is a bit different. With God Eater 2 taking place after Resurrection, this game follows a much darker storyline. Your character and many others are treated like disposable soldiers, working like a slave in harsh conditions and sometimes being set on suicide missions. You have little to no backstory. Like in God Eater 2, Blood recruited your character and became part of an elite unit. Here we don't get any of that. Being found at a young age and forced to be in a prison-like cell, it gets so bad that your own ports abandon you. But perhaps that's for the best, because in God Eater 3, the story focuses less on your past and more on forging a new future for you and your fellow God Eaters. Like most God Eaters, you are a special breed. For example, in God Eater, you were among the few that could use both guns and swords, making you second generation God Eaters. while you are awakened to blood arts in the second installment, making you the third generation soldiers. But here it's more like you adapt to the current situation and became adaptive God Eaters, aka Ages, in which you awaken to more powerful combo abilities and able to survive harsher environments. Now since you know about your character, let's talk about the story. Like I said, you're forging a new future with fellow Ages such as Hugo, Zeke, Keith, Lulu, and Finn. With your teammates, you're fighting for freedom and humanity at the same time. What makes me enjoy the story more is that you actually see soldiers fighting each other and watching your unit being treated as minorities. So bad in fact that you were sent on a mission to die, but luckily survived. All in all, it's a very good story. It's a story of betrayal, hope, and determination. We get that feeling in previous God Eater games, but it's not as pronounced as it is in this one.
The crew on the Chrysanthemum, they were the very first to treat me like a real person.
Characters here are a bit lacking since they all basically come from the same background. Unlike in God Eater 2, where each person you meet has a unique backstory that you can later learn more about through optional quests that they post. But you don't get that here. In God Eater 3, the only character that has a different backstory from most Ages is Lulu, with Claire being a minor exception. Basically, all of the Ages have the same backstory, but with different personalities.
It's located us.
Ashbourne.
Let's say this straight. God Eater has always had great monster design, and the same holds true here. However, nothing could be compared to a new breed of origamis called Ashbournes. These are special types of origamis that survive the harsh conditions of the Ashlands, developing new abilities. And that ability is to devour and enter a burst state, similar to a God Eater. These Ash origamis possessing these extreme lethal capabilities makes me wonder what else Bandai has in store for us in future installments. Aside from that, many older origamis make a return with a few new attack moves, which gives it more variety. I love fighting the new creatures that we are introduced to, while at the same time battling some familiar faces. Now with that, you can't really go wrong.
Operation successful. It's finally over.
With the story being better than its predecessors and gameplay being more fast-paced with higher fluidity of combat featuring tons of new skills and features, using these against a new threat feels good. However, I strongly believe that we should have evolved from the combat into something more balanced, focusing more on combos rather than skills that you can equip. The skills are great, but finding that middle ground between skills and combat is what will bring us to the golden age of God Eater. I mean, look at Monster Hunter. If Capcom could do it, so can Bandai. And with Bandai having the advantage of story, evolving the combat will really bring in more players and make it a bigger threat to Monster Hunter. With all that being said, I give this game a hard 8 out of 10. If you're a huge fan of God Eater, I would recommend full price. But if you're new and you're trying to find something new to play, then I would suggest wait until the price drops. Overall, good game. Better story, better combat, more monsters, but lacking individual characters' backstories, which, coming from a game series where backstories and motivations had played a huge part in the previous installments, but not seeing that here is a bit off-putting. But nonetheless, a good game. Now I hope you all enjoyed this review. I worked really hard with Angel to make this review. I try to beat this game as fast as possible so I could get this out because I really do enjoy this God Eater. Like, I put so many hours into this game, like so many hours, and I know there's probably some stuff that I missed that I will touch up later on. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are new here and you like what you see, please leave a like and subscribe and turn on the bell, please. That really helps me out a lot. And comment what you down below. What I miss or anything that interests you about the game. So that's about it, really. So as always, much love, and I see you all in my next video. Peace.